Morning, everybody. It's good to see you guys this morning. It's good to be back this Sunday. I'm not sure where to put my stuff. I just want to thank you guys. So many of you reached out to me in text or calls or sent cards or came to my dad's funeral. Just you guys have been overwhelmingly kind and compassionate, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for loving me and my family. It means so much. It is a huge reminder of just the value of the body of Christ and how much loving each other, just how much it really matters. Just simply loving one another. And thank you for that. You guys made something that's really hard a little easier, and something that was bitter. There was sweetness in that too. And so for me and for my mom and for my brothers, you guys have just made a massive difference. Thank you so much for that. You may be wondering why I have this pew up here. We're thinking about getting new pews, so this is an example of the pew we might get. No, Sherry Ginn Marcotte gave this to me. This pew once sat in the Martin Church of Christ. Let me put a picture up here. The Martin Church of Christ, which is where my dad grew up. Do we have a lot of Martin Church of Christ people here? Is that what I was hearing? Okay, my aunt. Yeah, you, Sue. Yeah, you were. This was taken in August of 1952. Sue, you were not in existence when this picture was taken. My dad is right up there. I'm pointing to him. You don't know which one he is, but he's one of those guys. But that church sat out just on a country road, and this wasn't even the big church in Hollis. Like, Hollis had a church. This is out in the middle of nowhere, Hollis. This is out on the section line amongst the cotton fields. And that's where my dad grew up, and this pew was in that church building. And he may have sat on this, I don't know. There are no initials carved in it to prove that he was there, but he may have sat on this actual pew. That church, I remember going to it when I was a kid, one-room church, right? At some point they put a bathroom on the back. I don't know when that came along, but for a while that wasn't there, right? Yeah, one room. All I remember is hot, because we'd go see Mamaw, we'd go worship at Martin. It was hot. There were always wasps in the building, which adds a certain element of danger and spice to worship. You go outside afterwards. You're just outside. It's hot, Hollis. And I remember playing with horny toads. There'd be horny toads running around. The kids would just be running around trying to catch them. But in that church is where my dad learned about the Lord. And in that church, his character was shaped and formed, not in the building, but by the people. And I am fairly certain that if he wasn't in this picture here, I wouldn't be where I am today, because of the man that he became by growing up as a part of that church. Now, Hollis, if you guys know Hollis, it's as south and as west as you can go in Oklahoma and still be in Oklahoma. And at one point, Dad told me, and I grew up in Holdenville, Dad told me, son, people in western Oklahoma just have a higher character than people in eastern Oklahoma. And I said, Dad, I'm from eastern Oklahoma. He goes, yeah, I know. But his character was forged there, and who he was has obviously incredibly impacted me. And I've been planning to preach this sermon for a long time, so I wasn't ready for everything that happened almost 2 weeks ago. But today I want to talk about legacy. Because of the way my dad was formed and forged in his home and in his church, he became the man that he was. If you guys, several of you were at his funeral, several more watched it online and streamed, then you have an idea of who my dad is. And you see the legacy that he passed down. So I'm just going to brag on my family just for a little bit. And I'll just tell you, I'm the black sheep, so I'm not bragging on me. But my mom and dad had 3 boys, 2 of which became preachers, one of whom is an elder. We all had kids that grew up and are still growing up. But But that legacy is powerful. That legacy has formed us because of the decisions my mom and dad made when they didn't even know they were going to have kids. You know, when they were young, people in love and decided to get married, the decisions they made then affect who I am now. What legacy are you leaving? We had all these babies up here. Moms and dads of those babies. What legacy are you going to leave those kids? Is it going to be a legacy of faith? Of faith and hope? Is it going to be a legacy of confidence and strength? Or is it going to be a legacy of doubt and confusion, of weakness? You make those decisions. Those decisions that you make will impact not only you, but them, and not only them, but their kids, and their kids, and their kids. It's powerful. The life you're living right now leaves a legacy. We don't think about that. We're just flying through life. We're not always thinking about what's going to happen 10, 40, 80 years down the road. But what you're doing leaves a legacy one way or another. You choose the legacy that you're leaving. My mom and dad, by choosing faith in God, have left a powerful legacy. And I'll just say this, just through my brothers and I, at this point, we've impacted thousands of people for God. Thousands. I ended up flying down to Peru for a few years to plant a church. So it's not just people in our state or our nation, but what my mom and dad did impacted people that they won't meet this side of heaven. Someday, I'm going to introduce those people to my mom when we're all in heaven together, and they're going to get to know her. And my dad, we're going to get to know each other, but it all started with simple church, worship, faith in God. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you guys a few things. I'll be honest, I thought the baby dedication was going to take a really long time, so I prepared like 8 minutes this morning. You may get off with a short sermon for one time in our history together, but I want to tell you this. There are things in my household that led to that legacy. And if you're trying to leave a similar legacy of faith and hope and salvation for many, do these things. Now, it doesn't guarantee it because the lure of the world is strong, but it will put you and your family in a much better position to succeed for Christ. So these are real simple. In my household, God came first in all things. And there was never a doubt in my mind growing up that God came first in all things. I never questioned it. Never in my life did I go, hey, Dad, are we going to go to Bible class on Wednesday night? I knew that we were going to Bible class on Wednesday night, and it was non-negotiable. Hey, Mom, are we going to worship this morning? Obviously, we're going to worship this morning. It was such a given that nothing came in between us and God, that just the things of church were absolutes and non-negotiable. Listen, if you make them negotiable, you're building something in your children that you don't want to build. You're teaching them that God is optional, or God is convenient. He's neither of those things. So our dedication to Him, listen, His dedication to you is perfect and unending. There's not a gap in His coverage for you, in His love coverage or provision. Therefore, we respond with absolute dedication to Him. God comes first. I don't know, no, I do know. I never sat down to eat a meal with my dad that he did not pray, offering thanks to God for what we were eating. Every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Sometimes even just dessert. One time we sat down, and I don't know what Mom had cooked, but it wasn't dinner, it was just nothing but dessert. And Dad said, he did the prayer, God, please bless us to the nourishment of our bodies. And the only way that would nourish our bodies is through miraculous intervention, right? That was it. But God was acknowledging, or Dad was acknowledging, God is behind all this. The good things in our lives, the richness in our lives, the provision of our lives, food, home, Everything comes from God. And therefore, God came first. There was never a doubt. I remember as far as just going to Bible class on Wednesdays, for some reason Mom and Dad were out of town, and I was out at the baseball field that was a mile or two outside of town. I was 14 or 15, too young to drive. I thought somebody was going to come pick me up and take me to the church building, and they didn't for some reason. So I ran that mile or two into town to show up just in time for Bible class to start in my baseball stuff. I mean, I was wearing a pair of shorts, I was sweaty and dirty, but it was so ingrained in my head, God comes first, that's what you do. And let me tell you, showing up at the East Main Church of Christ in the 80s in a pair of shorts was a party foul. But I knew that I had to be there because that's what Mom and Dad ingrained into me. God came first. Listen, guys, if you want to leave a legacy of faith, and I'm not just talking to parents of young kids, I'm talking to grandparents, I'm talking to parents of teens, I'm talking to parents of older adults, it doesn't matter. Put God first. Don't ever make God optional. Definitely don't make Him second choice. God first in all things. So reorder your life. Whatever your life is doing right now, reorder it to make sure that God is first. And an easy way to do that is if the church doors are open, you are there, and you're there with your kids. You may have to make big changes to make that happen, but it is worth it. It's worth it. So, God first in all things. Mom and Dad really live this out. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. All. Leave no doubt. In your mind, leave no doubt in your kids' minds. If you want to leave this legacy, these are the things you're going to have to grasp over. So, number 2, if you want to leave a legacy of faith, you need to grow up in a home like I did, where Mom and Dad love each other. I know that sounds basic, but it is so crucial. And I look back on the other people that I grew up with who didn't necessarily grow up in the same kind of loving household I did. But I grew up in a house where it was obvious that Dad loved Mom and Mom loved Dad. My dad worked for the wildlife department for 36 years. He worked at his office was in a hatchery out by the lake, which is 10 minutes outside of town. And so Dad would get home at 5:10 every day. And Dad would walk in the door and he would yell, "Polly Pooley," or "Baby Luby," or whatever nickname he had come up with my mom that week, right? There were a slew of them. 60 years of nicknames for Mom. And then he would stand in the door and dance until Mom came to meet him at the front door. It was kind of like this. It was one of these. It wasn't a big dance, but it was a little dance. And he was just excited to get home to his wife. And she was excited for him to come home. Guys, that matters. I cannot overstate the impact that had on their children. And the impact it will have on your children and grandchildren when you do something as simple as love your spouse. I grew up in a house where Mom and Dad were in love with each other and they treated each other lovingly. They loved each other. When my dad talked to my mom, there was respect and love in there. Sometimes a little teasing. But respect and love. And my mom always treated my dad with respect and love. And that was such a bedrock of my life that when people didn't do that, it really bothered me as a kid. We had some friends, or Mom and Dad had some friends that went to church with us, and the way he talked to his wife, and I was probably 8 years old, the way he talked to his wife bothered me. Because it wasn't full of respect. Like, I didn't like him. And later I realized he's just kind of teasing, he's just doing it in a bad way. But it felt off to me because it wasn't freighted with respect and love. I just thought husbands are supposed to treat their wives well. Wives are supposed to treat their husbands well. That was just in my DNA. We read this scripture. Go ahead and turn to 1 Corinthians. Well, no, I got it on the screen. 1 Corinthians 13. We read it in every wedding, right? Rarely do you see a wedding where this scripture is not read. But the wedding day is not the most important day to be embracing this. It's every day after in your marriage. My mom and dad lived this out. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. Some translations say love never fails. This, husband's wife, this is what you've got to live out every day. Because you are impacting your kids, your grandkids, and everybody they come into contact with in a huge way. Live this out. The way Paul is presenting this in this letter to the church in Corinth, these guys had all these miraculous abilities. Like they could speak in different languages and they could heal people, and it was miraculous. And they missed the point. God had blessed them with all this supernatural power. But Paul's writing them to say, and you guys are using this to elevate yourselves. And he says, I'm going to show you the more excellent way. This is the more excellent way. That each and every one of us can grasp hold of. We don't have to have a miraculous laying on of hands or anything to do the most important thing. Love one another. Love one another. And this goes beyond husbands and wives, right? This goes to parents and kids. This goes to kids to parents. This goes brothers and sisters in Christ, all family. Embrace patience and kindness. Reject envy and boasting and arrogance and rudeness. Quit picking your way. Quit being irritable and resentful. Don't rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoice with the truth. That love bears up and believes and hopes and endures. It's powerful. Everybody in here is capable of that. If you feel like you're not, or if you see yourself not acting that way, not living this stuff out, it's as simple as going to God in prayer and asking for forgiveness and help to do it. And He will help you do it. He'll increase your patience. He'll increase your endurance. All those things. He will help you do it. And as you grow up in that, you're going to realize His power in all your relationships, but specifically husband and wife, more and more. Ephesians 5. Very simple. Verse 21 starts off with submission. He's saying, you Christians, submit to one another. Quit trying to be first. Quit trying to make it about you. Submit to one another. And then he talks to husbands and wives. And he tells the wives, submit to your husbands as you would to Jesus. Now that is the opposite of what your culture is telling you right now. Ladies, I'll tell you that right now. The culture is not telling you that. The culture is telling you, be a girl boss. Be in charge. Make sure your needs are met. You're number one. But God is saying the direct opposite. Submit to your husband as if he was Jesus himself. Is that easy? No. It's not easy for Courtney. And I'm as Christ-like as you can get, right? No. The problem with that is none of us husbands are Jesus. So it's hard for wives to submit to Jesus, to a husband. But that's what God is saying. If you want to leave the legacy God is calling you to, that's what He's calling you to. Husbands, you think you got it easy? He says, husbands, you love your wives just like Christ loved the church. And then he goes on to say that He gave His life up for her. Husbands, you love your wife so much that you die to yourself every day. You know, you see that and you think the big picture. Jesus went to the cross for His bride, for those that He loved. Husbands, you do the same thing, but it's not necessarily the romantic, I'll throw myself in front of a bullet for my wife. Although we would, wouldn't we, men? We'd do that. But it's also the day-to-day stuff. My little brother's a preacher, I told you, and one time he made the mistake of preaching that. And he said, you know, it's not just the big gesture, it's the small gesture. And but he said, you men, you die to yourself for your wife every day. And the next day, his wife said, honey, will you take the trash out? And he said, no, I'm busy right now, I'll do it later. And she said, would you die for me? He hooked himself. That's his own fault, right? But that's what it means. You put your wife first. You die to yourself. And you know what, men, if you are dying to yourself for the sake of your wife and she sees it and knows it, you're making it a whole lot easier for her to submit to you. And wives, if your husband is seeing you submit what she wants for you, it makes it a whole lot easier for them to die for you every day. See, it works together. None of us get it perfectly right, but that's what we strive for, that's what we live for. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. It's crucial. If you're going to leave a legacy of faith, it has to happen. Here's what I'm going to give you two things. One thing my dad gave, and I'm going to go ahead and sit down because you guys are sitting down. One thing my dad did that had impact on me and my brothers is as simple as this. Do what's right. Do what's right. But Dad there was a spine in him that helped him do what's right. And it was in every aspect. If you're going fishing, go get your fishing license. Right? If you're going hunting, get your hunting license. Don't do bad stuff. Like, you know what? My dad never had a lot of talks with me that I hear people saying. My dad never told me, don't you be getting drunk. Don't you go out on the weekends and get drunk. He didn't have to. Because I knew Garvin Wright wasn't going to tolerate that, right? That's not who he was, and that's not who we were. Dad didn't have to tell me a lot of stuff because I knew that Dad's expectation was that we were going to do what was right. At his retirement, he worked for the Wildlife Department for 36 years. The retirement party was at the Holdenville High School cafeteria, which it does not get swankier than that in Holdenville. And it was so fun because it was a bunch of not now, they don't seem so old at all now, but it was a bunch of guys who had worked for the Wildlife Department, just good dudes, good-hearted guys getting together, having fun. It was so fun. But one of the guys got up and spoke, and he said, I know Garland, two of his sons are preachers, but let me tell you, he would preach the rules and regulations for fishing in Oklahoma, right? Because it matters to do what's right. Don't bend the rules. Don't give yourself an excuse. Don't build sneakiness into your character. Find out what the right thing to do is and do it. That's simple. It's that simple. And that was the expectation in my house. Not that I always lived up to it. But what if I didn't have that standard to even look up to it in the first place? Parents, sometimes things that should be black and white, we make gray. And when kids don't have that thing to call themselves back to, what are they supposed to do? If they don't have a righteous standard to look to when they seek righteousness, where are they going to look? Moms and dads, you're in the place. God has put you in His place to raise these kids. That's intimidating. You are in God's role when you have kids. He expects you to raise them in righteousness as He is trying to raise you up in righteousness. Do right. Teach your kids to do right. James 4:17. Whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. Do the right thing. So, that's what I got from my dad. Here's one thing I got from my mom. By the way, I got a lot of stuff from both of them. Not all good. I got a little orneriness from my dad, I think, I've been told. But here's one from my mom. Have compassion. Mom grew up in Hollis, Oklahoma. Mom grew up poor. My mom's here today, so I'm kind of feeling weird talking about this. But I'm talking 3 sisters in one bed. The window doesn't shut all the way poor. There were times, Mom told me, when she... okay, I'm going to give you this example. She told me this story, and I love it. And guys, younger guys, if you're thinking, why don't these older people get us? This story is going to explain why. Mom was in 7th grade, and her daddy got hurt, broke his leg, bad. Had to be in traction in Oklahoma City for 6 weeks. So it was just Mom, her 2 younger siblings, and her mom. Well, her mom didn't drive. So she went to the police station and got special permission for Mom to drive. 13 years old. So she would drive, I guess her and her sister to school or drive into town to the grocery store at 13. Well, one night she woke up and her mom was really, really sick. And they didn't have a phone in mom's house. So she had to run over to the neighbor's house in the middle of the night to call an ambulance to come out and haul her mom away. Well, they haul her mom away. There's mom, 13 years old. She's got a little sister who's probably 6 and a little brother who's 4. She's just there with him by herself. She didn't know what to do. So next day she's got to go to school. So she gets in the car at 13, drives her younger sister to school. No, her younger brother to school. And the younger sister, she just brought her with her to class. So she's just trailing a 4-year-old like she's a single mom. And that went on for a while until somebody figured out what was going on and called in somebody to help. They didn't have much. There were days in high school where mom would hide in the bathroom so no one would know that she didn't have lunch, that she didn't have any food to eat that day. They ate a lot of beans. Mom grew up poor. That's the upshot of it. But it created in her a compassion for people in need. That me growing up, it was crazy. For one thing, I don't know that I wore any clothes that mom didn't either sew or buy at a garage sale. Which was cool. I didn't know any better or care until she brought home underwear from a garage sale. And that's when I drew the line right there. I was like, I know that guy. I don't want his underwear. I remember being Mom was an 8th grade math teacher. I remember being at middle school and seeing a kid, and I was like, hey, Mom, I got that same shirt. Me and that guy have the same shirt. And Mom goes, well, that's actually your shirt. You got lots of shirts, and he does not. So I gave him your shirt. That compassion has had an impact on me. Because I'll be honest, I don't know that I'm naturally a very compassionate person, but having a mama who was altered my life. And it altered my brother's lives and her grandkids' lives and made them more compassionate people. If you want to leave a legacy for Christ, these are some things that you have to do. Simple. If you want to leave a strong faith in the lives of everybody you come into contact with, if you want to uplift them, if you want to strengthen them, Matthew 9, Jesus is showing compassion on the crowds. I just want to make sure that verse is in. But if you want to leave the legacy that they did, put God first in all things, make that non-negotiable. In your kids' heads, make it so true and right and steady that they never have a doubt in their mind who comes first. And man, when they grow up, it'll have a huge effect on them. If you want to leave a legacy for Christ, have a loving home. Husbands, wives, love each other and treat one another lovingly and with respect. It's powerful. It's powerful. Do what's right. Teach your kids to do what's right. Have compassion. Teach your kids to have compassion. Now, there's a whole lot more to it, but if you just get these 4 things down, I think you'll go a long way towards building a legacy of faith and hope that will resound in eternity. I don't know why I keep hitting that. Am I hitting that? It will resound in eternity. It's not just about the life here, but if you do that, you're going to see them in heaven with you someday, along with all the people that they bring. My house had people in it. Not just our people. Not just our family. We had family. Like, I remember a lot of Sunday nights after worship. A lot of people would never go to our house. They'd be cooking burgers in the backyard. Kids would be running everywhere. It wasn't just our family. It expanded. And now there are people in my life who are like family. That my family is tied to. That I grew up with in church. The LaValleys, the Snows, the Pharisees, who will always have a connection. Build that too. And build that for eternity. Because of the impact my mom and dad had on us, we had impact on the world that will save souls. You can do the same thing. You can do the same thing if you start putting some of these things into place. Put all these things in place. I want to close right now with an invitation. If you need help, that's what the church is for. If you need prayer, we want to pray with you. If you need comfort or strength, if you need direction, guidance, any of that, we want to do that. And if you want to come to God for salvation you never had, if you want to put Jesus Christ on in baptism, we want to help you do that today. If you need to do any of those things, please come forward while we stand.